Hey everyone, it's the Diplomat, and we've made it to part 50 of the Chris Watts Discovery read-through. So thank you so much to everyone who's been here, those for a long time, and those that are just joining us and catching up. It's pretty amazing that we're at part 50 already, and still a decent amount to go, but we will continue, and my goal is really to get it done this year. And I think we'll have no problem making that happen. So on page 1309, we have Weld County Sheriff's Department. These are jail logs for Chris Watts. The date range is from August 16th, so that would be 3 days after the murder, to September 20th, all in 2018. For each one, I'll read who entered it, the date and time, and then the notes or narrative of Chris's behavior. So the first one here we have entered by Not. The date and time is Tuesday, August 16th at looks like 12:49 in the morning. And location for this first group is Unit 7. Narrative: I have observed that he came into the unit and went straight to bed. So that's when he first got in. Next, entered by Jacek, Thursday, August 16th, 11:55 a.m. Inmate Watts received 2 visits from lawyers today, as well as inmate services. He was staffed to remain redacted. He has been polite and respectful with the interactions I have had with him. He has been laying down, staring at the top of his bunk, or sitting on the edge of it, staring at the floor. Okay, the next is entered by Medina, and this is August 17th at 4:14 a.m. Inmate Watts slept all through the shift. He did respond to the face count, but did not get up at all. Next is entered by Jacek on Friday, August 17th. This is at 12:57 p.m. Inmate Watts has been respectful and polite during my interactions with him. I have seen him a few times during my walks, staring off at the floor or the wall in front of him blankly. I have asked a few times if he was doing all right or if he needed to talk, and he said no, whilst giving a thumbs up. He was staffed today by inmate services to remain on redacted. Throughout the day, while doing my walks, I noticed Watts still staring blankly in front of him again. I opened his cell door and let him know what I've seen over the last few hours and told him it was concerning. He said he was fine. He is just thinking about things and he's trying to exercise to keep busy. I told him that's a good idea and reassured him that if he needs to talk to someone, he needs to let the deputy know so we can make sure he is taken care of. He said he appreciated it. I asked him if he was feeling suicidal and he told me he was not. I then asked him if he would let us know if he was, to which he told us, in quotes, I will definitely let someone know. The next is entered by Anderson. This is on Saturday, August 18th at 3:38 p.m. Watts keeps to himself. He is very calm and polite all day long. He will respond when staff asks him questions in a respectful manner. The next entry is by Dobson on Saturday, August 18th at 10:09 p.m. Inmate Watts, Christopher, laid on his bunk and slept during the shift. He wakes up and acknowledges deputies and medical staff when they address him. He has not been actively attempting to harm himself during the shift. The next entry is by Gudenkoff. This is August 19th at 3:18 p.m. Inmate Watts either sat quietly or slept in his bunk all day. The only time he talked was to say thank you for lunch and to ask for toilet paper. Inmate refused medication. The following entry is by Dobson. This is on Sunday, August 19th at 11:24 p.m. Inmate Watts refused his hour out tonight when offered by myself and SOG Deputy Penny. He rested during most of the shift, only speaking when he needed toilet paper. He was respectful and did not engage in any self-harming behavior. The following is also Dobson. This is Tuesday, August 21st at 12:14 a.m. During routine walkthroughs early in the shift, I observed inmate Watts, Christopher, sitting up on his bunk reading a book. The last 2 days he has been laying down staring in front of him or sleeping. I approached him and shared my observation, and he informed me that he was just given the book today. Having a book to read seems to have significantly improved inmate Watts' demeanor. The following entry is again by Dobson, and this is on Wednesday, August 22nd at 12:16 a.m. Inmate Watts, Christopher, had a professional visitor tonight. I asked him after he was finished how his court from earlier today had gone. He said it had not gone well, but appeared to be content with it. He asked me how my day was, and I responded by telling him I'm here and alive, so I can't complain. He proceeded to ask how many days I work in a typical week here at the jail. I told him the work week is typically 5 days, and he said okay as he entered his cell. I told him to have a good night, and he began to read his book in the cell and later went to sleep. So the next entry is by Koppes, Koppes, and this is on Wednesday, August 22nd at 4:50 p.m. And the narrative is, August 21st, inmate returned from court. He was given an opportunity to prepare with a shower early in the morning. He read his book after the shower when he returned to his cell. He doesn't hang around or make conversations with others. He was quiet and polite when he returned from court. He reads his book standing at all times. Inmate was seen this morning by Brandon. He was asked to call his public defender twice this morning, which he did. The first call lasted over 10 minutes. There was an inmate on redacted laying on the floor next to the telephone. He was given his hour out and took a shower. After showering, he returned to his cell. He finished one book and asked if he could get another, and it was accommodated. After dinner, he dozed off, but was seen reading shortly after. He is very quiet and polite. He was asked to place a phone call to his attorney at 5:25 p.m. and was given the opportunity to make the call. It lasted less than 2 minutes, and he returned to his cell without issue. The next entry is by Dobson, and this is on Thursday, August 23rd at 12:46 a.m. Inmate Watts, Christopher, has been quiet throughout the shift. He asked for toilet paper once at approximately 7 p.m., which I promptly provided with him. He continues to read in his bunk and refrains from any self-harming behavior. The next entry is by Emery, and this is on Friday, August 24th at 12:36 a.m. Inmate spent most of the night reading in his bunk. Inmate appeared to sleep through the night. And the following entry is by Tippett, and this is on Thursday, August 23rd at 5:37 p.m. Requested that he have his hour out in this unit. He stated that he would only need to take a shower and then return to his cell. I informed him that his hour outs would be upstairs. Inmate Watts tried to manipulate the situation by stating that he would just be real quick and he wouldn't talk with anyone. I repeated that his hour out would be done upstairs. He accepted that and went back to his book. The following entry is by Archer, and this is on August 25th at 8:28 a.m. And this says Unit S now. So I suppose he's been moved from Unit 7 to Unit S. Inmate refused hour out today and decided to sleep. I have had no issues with this inmate, and he has complied with every directive given. Following entry is by Giannuzzi, and this is August 26th, 10:29 a.m. Today at approximately 10:30 a.m., inmate Watts had a professional visitor. All the windows were closed, plastic bags were used to block the visibility and to provide privacy to inmate Watts. And the following entry is by Archer. This is August 26th at 2:21 p.m. This is Sunday. Inmate Watts had a visit with his public defender today with no issues from him or the other inmates in S-Pod. Next entry is by Townsend, and this is August 28th, 8:10 p.m. Christopher Watts was quiet when I took over this afternoon. He spent most of the day reading. He did eat dinner. The housing unit as a whole was quite rambunctious today around dinner time, but Watts did not engage with any of this and just kept to himself. He had a V-Pro that started late this evening. I summoned the SOG deputies to escort him to the V-Pro room in accordance with the security memo, and we shut all of the sliders on the cell doors during the V-Pro room to maintain compliance with the security memo. The housing unit was very upset about having their sliders shut indefinitely because of his V-Pro room, and the unit made their collective feelings clear by booing Watts when he came out of his room. Okay, the next entry is by Stuht, S-T-U-H-T. This is on Wednesday, August 29th at 12:02 a.m. Inmate Watts has been observed quietly lying in bed and reading his Bible. He was very polite and respectful in his interactions with the deputy and seems to be in generally good spirits. After lights out, he went to sleep and has caused no issues. Okay, the next is by Townsend. On August 29th at 7:14 p.m. Inmate Watts was on a V-Pro when I got into the unit. All sliders were closed for the duration of the V-Pro in accordance with his security memo. When his V-Pro was done around 4:40 p.m., he was moved back by 2 SOG members in accordance with his security memo. The unit was much less vocal today when he was being moved. Watts spent the remainder of his evening reading in his room quietly after he ate dinner. The next is again by Stuht, August 30th at 12:24 a.m. Inmate Watts was observed reading in his cell, again until lights out, and then went to sleep. He had very little interaction with the deputy, as he did not request anything throughout the night. The next is by Petzold. This is August 30th, Thursday, at 3:28 p.m. Inmate Watts was approved per Sergeant Muller to have a book from Inmate Services. This was given to him by Deputy Petzold on August 30th. Inmate Watts is not on discipline and therefore allowed a book. Next is by Townsend, August 30th, 8:22 p.m. Inmate found to have book. States that it came from his counselor. Book is taken. Inmate Watts Christopher was pretty quiet throughout the day. He ate dinner and did not speak to anyone else in the unit. It was found today by Deputy Bertato that he had a book in his cell in addition to his Bible. When Bertato asked about this, Watts explained that his counselor had given it to him. Bertato explained to Watts that at this time, inmates in this housing unit are not allowed to have books aside from their primary religious text. Watts handed over the book to Deputy Bertato without issue. Stuht, 8:31 at 3:33 a.m. Inmate Watts has been observed sitting in his cell, either reading or seemingly doing nothing, to where he would be looking at door as I approached him. He would smile and nod his head at me. He asked for his toilet to be flushed, which I did, and then went to sleep after lights out. The next entry is from Townsend, and this is August 31st at 7:57 p.m. And it says, Inmate Watts Christopher Lee spent his day quietly reading. He did eat dinner. Following entry is Stuht. Subject says, sleeping no issues. Oh, sorry, this is on September 1st, Saturday at 3:40 a.m. Inmate Watts has been observed reading in bed, no issues to report. The following entry is Giannuzzi, and this is also on September 1st at 5:39 p.m. Today I interacted with Inmate Watts briefly. Specifically, I observed Inmate Watts working out. When asked how he was feeling, he said okay. Also, throughout the day, I observed him reading his book. He remained polite and respectful today. He read and exercised. This next entry is from Piacenza, and this is the following day on September 2nd at 2:33 a.m. Inmate Watts spent a majority of his evening reading a book. He has been respectful to deputies and has not caused any negative issues. As indicated earlier, he elected to not take his hour out this evening. The next entry is also Piacenza, and this is on September 3rd at 12:13 a.m. It reads, Inmate Watts read a book for a majority of the evening. He has been respectful and communicates when communicated to. He has not caused any negative issues this evening. Again from Piacenza on September 4th at 4:02 a.m. Inmate Watts completed his visit with his attorney at approximately 6:30 p.m. SOG moved him from the V-Pro room to his cell with no issues. He was respectful this evening and did not cause any issues in the pod. Next is also Piacenza. It just says inmate accepted and ate breakfast. That's at 5:06 a.m. later that day. Then Archer, that same day, September 4th at 3:31 p.m. Inmate Watts asked what I did before this and if I liked working here and how long I've been here. Following entry, Piacenza on September 5th at 4:16 a.m. It says Inmate Watts sat on his cot most of the evening and read his book. He is respectful and hasn't caused any negative issues. The next entry is Giannuzzi, September 5th at 9:34 a.m. Today, Inmate Watts was given a different book from Inmate Service Brandon. I switched out his old book with the new book, Body of Evidence. The book was inspected prior to giving it to him. Following entry by Stute on September 7th at 2:06 a.m. Inmate Watts was observed reading his Bible and sleeping. He caused no issues. He continues to have little to no interaction with deputies, but seems calm and receptive when spoken to. Next entry by Stute on September 8th at 2:35 a.m. Inmate Watts was quiet and compliant this evening, reading in his room. He slept and caused no issues. We have a new person here, Rice, on September 8th at 2:59 p.m. Inmate Christopher Watts has mostly been reading his Bible and laying on his mat all day. No issues from this inmate. Following entry, Stute, September 9th, that's a Sunday, at 5:46 a.m. Inmate Watts was observed reading in his cell. No issues to report. The next entry is by Metcalf, and this is on September 12th at 4:46 p.m. It reads, Inmate Watts had a professional visit today at approximately 4:45 p.m. All of the window chutes of Unit S were closed while Inmate Watts was removed from his cell and during his professional visit. Next one is by Archer on September 13th, 2:24 p.m. I, Deputy Archer, cleaned Inmate Watts' cell while he was on his hour out today. Following is by Andrews, September 13th at 12 a.m. Inmate was quiet and respectful tonight. Inmate did not even react when several other inmates in the unit were yelling to him. The next one is also by Andrews on September 15th at 12:02 a.m. Inmate has remained very quiet and polite. Inmate rarely asks for anything and is respectful when he does. Following entry is by Meredith on September 15th at 3:08 p.m. He has been quiet. He mainly reads or sleeps during the shift. He follows directive and is polite and respectful. I have had no issues. Again by Meredith on September 16th, 8:47 a.m. Inmate took his hour out today. I have had no issues from him. He has mainly been sleeping or reading his Bible. Following is by Meredith again, September 18th at 12:29 p.m. On September 18th, 2018, at approximately 12:25, Inmate Roberts was talking to Inmate Watts through the vents. I was not able to hear what they were talking about. Inmate returned to his window shortly after this. Following entry is by Aguirre, Aguirre, and this is on September 20th, 2018, at 8:31 a.m. Inmate started his hour out at 8 a.m. and had access to the phones, shower, newspaper, and exercise room. And this last entry is by Men, and this is September 20th at 5:52 p.m. Inmate Watts has been very quiet. He was polite going to and from the V-Pro for his visit and cooperative during cuffing and search. He ate all his dinner and spent the time I observed him sitting on his bunk reading his Bible. And then you just have a signature here, and that is the end of all those jail logs. So it gives us a pretty good idea of Chris's demeanor in those first days, that first month, maybe month and a half that he was incarcerated, speaking with his lawyers and all that, and he really just kept to himself. He obviously read and specifically read the Bible. Obviously, as you saw, they said that really the main text that they were allowed to have only was a religious text. Now, it seems like he got that body of evidence book and maybe another one, but he also had one taken away. So a little strange as to whether or not they really were allowed to have other books, but that's one part of the reason he was reading the Bible, is because that's all he had. Literally, if it was not for reading the Bible, he really had nothing else in the cell. I'm not sure if he had anything to write with, so it was just him alone with his thoughts, which he was at a lot of times just alone with his thoughts. As people said, he just sat there staring. I think it was, probably realization of the fact that he's about to spend the rest of his life in a cell like that. God, we pray that the Rusek family is doing better, and that they keep Shanann and the kids in their hearts at all times, and allow them to be part of their lives in a different way. In loving memory of Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico, this is The Diplomat. Have a great day.